So when you say finish the story, you're really not just referring to your own story, you're referring to his story too, is that fair?
I think so. I mean, the story of me wanting to win that title and give it to him is very real.
Wrestling has more than one royal family, and Cody Rhodes is part of one of the most influential families in wrestling, as he is the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty was one of the biggest wrestlers of the 20th century, but funnily enough, he had never won a world title in WWE, and it's been speculated that Vince McMahon has a lifelong agenda against the Rhodes family. So that meant when Cody Rhodes returned back to WWE, he had a duty to restore his family's name by becoming the world's champion. But at WrestleMania 39, he failed to finish the story that his father started. Dusty Rhodes, however, was a legendary professional wrestler who left an indelible mark on the world of wrestling. Dusty was such an important figure in wrestling history because he helped to popularize the sport. In the 70s and 80s, wrestling was still largely seen as a regional phenomenon, with different territories having their own promotions and stars. Dusty played a key role in breaking down these regional barriers and helping to create a national audience for wrestling. He did this by working for various promotions, where he was able to showcase his talents to fans across the country. Dusty was also one of the first wrestlers to use the power of television to promote himself. He was known for his flamboyant persona, his intoxicating aura, his overwhelming presence, and his ability to connect with the audience on an emotional level. Dusty had a common man gimmick, as he was the son of a plumber. The common man gimmick was based on the idea that he was a blue-collar worker just like many of his fans. He would talk about the struggles of everyday people with his thick southern accent filled with regional slang and colloquialisms. He portrayed himself as a man of the people, someone who understood the struggles and challenges that ordinary folks faced in their everyday lives. This helped to connect with audiences on a completely different level as a babyface. In addition, he was known for his ability to tell a story through his matches. His body language, his facial expressions, and in-ring skills created a narrative that would keep fans on the edge of their seats. He personified the American dream that anybody can make it big, no matter who they were or where they came from, and that was why he was called the American Dream. Dusty won several titles, and he was a 3-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. The NWA title was redesigned to the big gold title we all know and love, and after Dusty lost the title, it was basically amalgamated into WCW and used as their World Heavyweight Championship. It's important to note this, as even though he held the big gold championship, it was not a part of the WWE, so he has never won a championship in WWE. In the late 80s, Dusty slowed down as he was a bit older and he became the head booker for the NWA, who was going up against Vince McMahon, who had just purchased WWE from his father and was looking to monopolize wrestling, but he could not squash all his competition as NWA still kept on functioning. So for this reason at the time, Dusty Rhodes was a competitor to WWE, and of course, that meant that Vince McMahon was not a big fan of Dusty. However, Dusty was eventually let go from his position as head booker of NWA, and the old adage goes, if you can't beat them, join them. So in 1989, he debuted in the WWE in an infamous polka dot singlet. Many at the time felt this was disrespectful to Dusty because it made him look like a joke. Many have speculated that this was all an attempt by the notoriously petty Vince McMahon to humiliate his former competition. Dusty never won any titles in WWE, unfortunately, but there was another hope to win a big title in WWE for the Rhodes family in Dustin Rhodes, who was Dusty's son. But there was a caveat with Dustin, as he was brought up in WCW, Vince McMahon's biggest wrestling competitor in the late 80s and 90s. Vince had a thing for making wrestlers who were part of the competition look like punks to the fans, and this resulted in the Goldust gimmick. The Goldust gimmick was a bizarre and androgynous character with a gold-colored outfit, face painted in gold and black, and with various eccentric mannerisms. Goldust was a controversial and provocative character that did outlandish things like kissing his opponents. This was often used to shock and offend audiences. His sexually suggestive gimmick, homosexual tendencies, and comments generated controversy and criticism from a lot of viewers. All of this inflamed the rumors that Vince was pulling one more massive rib on the Rhodes family. The Goldust gimmick got over, even though it was really bizarre, but it was ultimately a mid-card gimmick. Dustin was never able to win a world championship in WWE. In the early 90s, Dusty left WWE and then he went on to join WCW and various other wrestling promotions in backstage roles, and he also wrestled occasionally. In the mid-2000s, however, with his in-ring days done, he rejoined WWE in a backstage role and served as a mentor and coach. He was in WWE for a while this time, and his biggest successes in his last run with WWE was becoming a mentor to the new generation of WWE superstars through his role in NXT. His mentorship helped to create many of the stars you see running wrestling today. The biggest superstars of today's wrestling landscape most likely went through some form of mentorship from Dusty. He is very responsible for giving the current crop of top superstars the courage and wings to fly through his coaching and mentorship. He had a very hands-on approach with every single superstar he worked with, but surprisingly, he had the opposite approach when it came to his own son, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes came up through the then WWE developmental OVW, and Dusty wasn't coaching in OVW then, so Cody wasn't trained by his father. But after just spending 1 year in developmental, Cody was promoted to the main roster. Dusty did help him though when he first got onto the main roster, as he had an on-screen role looking over Cody Rhodes. Dusty gave Cody some pointers from time to time, but he generally had a hands-off approach with his son. Dusty got Cody's foot into the door through nepotism, but now it was Cody's job to prove that he belonged there. And on the main roster, Cody Rhodes showcased his talent as he won the Intercontinental Championship twice, and he was a 6-time tag team champion with 4 different partners. But it always seemed to the fans that Cody Rhodes had the talent and capabilities to be a world champion in WWE, but it always felt that management was never fully behind him, and this manifested in the god-awful Stardust gimmick he was given. The Stardust gimmick was kind of a mini version of his older brother Goldust, and quite honestly, this gimmick was pretty terrible. Many at the time believed that the Stardust gimmick was given to Cody Rhodes as part of the running lifelong rib that Vince McMahon was pulling on the Rhodes family. Cody even admitted many times before that he absolutely hated this gimmick, so much so that he even considered quitting WWE, but he ultimately chose not to. However, this all changed in 2015 when the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, passed away. This changed it all for Cody, because at that point, what was really keeping him in WWE was the fact that he wanted to win a world championship for his father while he was still alive, but unfortunately he couldn't do that anymore. He had nothing more to lose, and so he quit WWE, and this is where the American Nightmare was born. He had always played a heel for the majority of the time when he was in WWE, and when he got into the independents, he played a heel as well, and he also started making appearances in Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he joined the villainous Bullet Club, and in the Bullet Club, his brilliant heel persona really shone through. In the Bullet Club, Cody Rhodes met Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and was featured heavily on the YouTube show Being the Elite, which catered heavily to fans in the West who were clamoring for an alternative to WWE, and him and the Elite became internet sensations through Being the Elite. And in 2017, Dave Meltzer said that it was not possible for 10,000 seats to be sold in America for a wrestling show that wasn't WWE. And Cody Rhodes responded by basically saying, "Challenge accepted." Even though he was a heel at this time, this is when the babyface momentum started for Cody Rhodes, as it was only right to root for a guy who was carrying a wrestling revolution on his back. And this all led to All In, a show organized and promoted by Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, which indeed sold 10,000 tickets. And this was a huge feat for a wrestling show that wasn't WWE in America. At All In, Cody Rhodes turned face as he won the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship and became the first ever second generation star to win the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, as his father Dusty won it 3 times before. Dusty would have for sure been proud of Cody for doing this, but to truly finish the story, Cody had to do something that Dusty had never done before. All In led to billionaire Tony Khan approaching the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes to create a new wrestling promotion to take on WWE, and just like that, All Elite Wrestling AEW was born. And in the first year and a half of AEW, Cody was the hottest babyface in wrestling. Fans absolutely adored him at this time. He was a fan favorite because he connected to the fans, and every week when he appeared, they went crazy for him. Cody, however, made a stipulation that came to fruition that he would never be able to challenge for the AEW World Championship, so this meant that he was never going to win a World Championship in AEW. In hindsight, it's always like he knew that WWE was his home and he would eventually return there. Nonetheless, Cody went on to win the TNT Championship 3 times. He was on top of the world and everyone loved him, but somewhere along the way, things went wrong for Cody. The crowd started to turn on him. It's not very clear when all the hate started for him, but people started to look at him as a self-serving wrestler in management that books himself well to look good. The rose-tinted lens that fans saw Cody Rhodes in began to fade, and this is where Cody Rhodes' descent into character purgatory started, as all the things from this point on that made Cody so special and made fans love him so much were exactly the things that fans started to despise, like his unnecessarily long entrance prelude song before his actual entrance music, and his unnecessarily excessive pyro that was more than anybody else in AEW, and his tendency to bleed all the time in big matches, and his tendency to get close to tears during his promos to gain sympathy from the viewers, and the fact that he won a boatload of matches over younger talent. All of these things that made Cody a hero in so many people's eyes started to turn him into a villain. To the AEW fans, something came across as incredibly phony with him, and he started to come across as a try-hard babyface. He came across as ingenuine and very Hollywood, which is the antithesis of the core ideology of AEW, and the fans made sure to let him know of this, as every time he came out there was a chorus of boos for him despite him being a babyface. This was exacerbated by the fact that he refused to turn heel even though fans wanted him to, and this is where fans compared him to Triple H the most. He was in a tough position, and with the AEW fans not on his side anymore, he let his contract run out and he did the unthinkable and rejoined WWE by debuting at WrestleMania 38. It was a complete flip as the WWE fans absolutely adored him from day one in WWE. His move back to WWE made all the sense in the world as he had a story to finish. From his first promo in WWE, he made it clear that his goal is to win the WWE Championship for his father and finally finish the story. But Seth Rollins was standing in his way. Cody feuded with Seth for a while, and Dusty was a running theme in this feud, with Seth even going as far as having Dusty-inspired gear in their WrestleMania rematch at Hell in a Cell. But in this very same match, Cody walked in battered and bruised with a torn pectoral muscle. This was a ballsy move by Cody, and it gained a lot of sympathy from the fans. Cody wrestling with his chest all purple was an endearing sight to behold. He was wrestling with the spirit of Dusty in him, but sadly the writing was on the wall and he had to take some time off to get surgery and heal. He had to pause the story for a long 8 months. But absence makes the heart grow fonder, and at the Royal Rumble 2023, he returned to a thunderous Raw and won the whole damn Royal Rumble match. And just like that, he punched his ticket to the main event of WrestleMania in order to finish the story. But one foe was standing in his way. The undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, who held both the top titles in WWE, with his reign lasting for over 2 years. Roman Reigns is the final boss of WWE in many ways, and interestingly enough, Dusty Rhodes was the man who made Roman realize his potential, and he predicted the gargantuan success that Roman would have in WWE. Dusty was all these things for Roman, but he wasn't for Cody despite being his father, and this created a compelling dynamic. Dusty was a common theme in Cody Rhodes' feud with Roman Reigns, and he also held a special place in Roman Reigns' manager's heart, Paul Heyman. This feud had such a rich story and history, and there was only one place where it could all come to heads, at WrestleMania. So the stage was set. Cody had come so far. He went through the trials, troubles, and tribulations for his whole career just to get to this moment. His father was looking down on him from heaven with pride, and this was the moment he had to finish the story for his family and all that they've been through. The crowd and the whole world was firmly behind Cody. This was the day of retribution on the grandest stage of them all. It was his moment to win the World's Championship in his home. It was his moment to finish the story. But ultimately, Cody could not finish the story, as Roman beat Cody and remained the undisputed WWE Universal Champion to everyone's shock. And as Cody just sat there in the middle of the ring in front of the 80,000 fans that had hoped to see him win, it was an especially crushing moment. He failed to win the World Championship for Dusty. He failed to finish the story for now. The story is not over. Cody still has time to win the big one for his father, as the fans are still firmly behind him, but it's not very likely that it will ever be as hard as he was going into WrestleMania. But then again, time will only tell. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and please check out our other videos. But anyway, goodbye.